Hello everyone. It is now morning time. That was perfectly timed actually. And the Hydra blaster has now been nerfed dramatically. That's not saying much though, considering it was single-handedly getting you infinite money in about 2 minutes before, so of course it's going to be a dramatic decrease. So I'm going to show off how useful it is now. Or how useless, I suppose most would say. And to be honest, I don't think it's that bad. Now, at first I'm going to show you with a light amount of ores, and then I'm going to show you with a slightly heavier amount. So it went from 4.1 times to 4.3 times. Oh, I don't have the mines enabled. It went from 4.1 times to 4.3 times. And it does explode now. That's the big catcher. However, it seemed to have multiplied the ore a lot when it did that. I feel like if the ore is going by fast, it seems to upgrade it more almost. Sometimes. It's weird how it acts. Because sometimes you can hit the 3 upgraders, because that's 4.3 with the first, I believe. Like, let's see if it going by fast would make any difference. Like, let's use a storage. No. It's weird. It seems to act differently sometimes. But it doesn't explode a whole lot. And people were making it out like, oh no, it explodes 10 million times. It doesn't explode that much, and then it just starts blowing up a lot. So, now that I showed that, here's with a heavier amount of ores. And it still doesn't explode terribly. You know, 4.3 times and it doesn't blow up too much. Now, if anything is needing a buff, I feel like the multiplier still needs a buff. I feel like it should be about 5 times, and then it would be a solid upgrader. And after that, maybe the slightest nerf, or not the nerf, but maybe make it so that it slightly explodes less too. Because, I don't know, it's just 15 Dragon Blasters. 5 times is good, though, if it were to be 5 times. But it seems like if it does end up blowing up, quite a few of the ores might end up going off anyway. But it's a blaster, it's supposed to do that. However, I discovered something interesting. And it's a little fun fact and a warning to anyone who gets the Hydra Blaster. Do not use this. Use it at the end of your setup, especially only if you're using mines that would not be great against fire, because I don't know if this is an actual feature or a glitch, but it seems to wanna. Let me refresh it now that it's fully like in place. It seems to want to catch back on fire and blow up after it goes through a spore. At least most of them seem to do that. They catch back on fire and pass away. And or blow up. So that's quite interesting. But you know, this is the Hydra Blaster. This does 4.3 times, the highest rated blaster in the game. And this is the lowest rated one. That does 2.65 times. Well, the highest rated that isn't the Dragon Glass anyway. I think this does more. But it'll blow up, it'll goodbye your ores a bit more than the Hydra, of course. Like, if something gets hit by that, bye. Obviously, it's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still not great. Okay, now we're going to actually try using this in a setup. And small setups it works great in too. Like, for example, you know, if you have a Diamond Breach Loader setup, and you have like a 1-line setup. I'm not going to be able to do this, but most of you are not life 3000, so I'll just like show an example. And maybe even if, you know, like boom, Tesla. Say, for example, you only have a set amount of blasters. Or this doesn't really make much sense, but it'll go well with other blasters, is what I mean. Now let's see if I can do this without having to use any extra upgraders. If I can place correctly. So smaller, quote-unquote smaller, blaster setups. With like a Swordmaster Spirit, for example. You know, the second you add that Hydra blaster, it really does make a difference. Now, of course, in numbers, big bad blasters will be better, but they'll blow up more. So, if you're lucky enough to even get more than one of these, this is the main reason why I feel like it should still get a buff to at least 5 times, is because you're not going to be seeing many of these. So I feel like 5 times would be a solid amount. So yeah. So 10 solid blasters with a Hydra blaster with a typical fast setup, I guess you could say, for sacrifice people, for sacrifice lads, UDs. It's not substantial, but I could make this work real quick if I just rebirth. So I'm just going to make that process a bit faster just by adding ghosts. And simply wait just a few more moments. And bam. Okay, now large scale setups. For example, TSTG setups. True Overlord farms. Or just True Overlord setups to get True Overlord devices. However, chances are if you have a Hydra blaster, it's gonna be a farm, because you're not gonna have this until you're at least in the thousands, unless you're die lucky. But I honestly don't think someone would be that lucky. I bet I'm gonna get 10 common sane. Blokey burn. I got it at life 700. I too lucky. Am I right? And you're not gonna seem very believable. I'm just gonna say that. I'm gonna admit it probably is possible, but the chances of you having one before life 1000 are so low that it just wouldn't even be worth believing. But hey, you know, it's whatever. I'm sure they'll eventually be duping exploits for that anyway. So you can have that by life 100, or, you know, whatever. But legitimately, I'm not talking exploits, perhaps. It would probably be, you know. Speaking of which, that's besides the point. The real point is how not good or good this is. And I'm just going to be using this in my normal, like, TSTG setup. Which does feature quite a few items, but not a tremendous amount. Not a babies. So, you know, I would usually use a catalyst, but I'm not sure how useful or effective it would be, but I'll try it. Throw an egg in there just to guarantee that it'll hit it once at least. I think the refiner, the lightning bolt refiner, will be another one. And then the spore. And we'll call that good. Now, reversible conveyors. Tesla on one side, the final upgrader on another. Why is my GUI messing up? It's acting up a little bit. Placing is still a little funky sometimes. Like that. This makes sense, right? No. You can fix it though just by placing it, but you shouldn't have to do that to fix it. And that's the aggravating part. So the placing is not perfect. So just gonna acknowledge that. Now I would suggest having a clover blaster or whatever you have on the opposite side of the actual thingy happening. And we'll throw the... Actually, I'll throw the Hydra over here. And then the clover blaster, considering the clover blaster takes a few years to kill the ore. Throw a ghost right there. I probably should have had more ores, so I might just remove this after a couple. And I will have a Sword God Shrine ready. I'll use Sakura Garden, just in case I don't have enough space for the Fat Falls. Considering I'm not betting to have that many ores. And no, I'll use Dark Illuminator. That's a safe one. Now I don't quite have enough to get to that point yet, so I guess I'm just gonna open a couple boxes. So if you want to skip ahead, maybe a minute or so, or watch me open a couple Infernos, that's up to you. I might put in an annotation. I don't usually do that. If those are still possible, I will. Because I haven't funked around with that in so long that I wouldn't even know. I like how you can get white tier items in these now. So instead of buffing the Inferno boxes, they got nerfed slightly. That's cool. Because they needed a nerf. Because you get so many good items from them. Like, look at that exotic coming right here. Alright, it's just about done. I'll open one more. Look at this vintage. Oh, I almost got something. Okay. I'm gonna put one evil floodlight so I see my everything over there. Alright, in my typical setup, I usually don't use the refiner, but... Or I usually use it, but not always. If this blows up every single ore, I'm removing it immediately. But if quite a few get by, it's fine. Now what you'll do is switch them to the other side. Click this more. And then Dark Illuminator on the other side. Click it a lot more. Okay, yeah. It's going to do that, so I'll just remove it. Because that's the final ore. And still QNTG, so it's, you know. We tried it with small setups. We tried it with big setups. Arguably big setups. Big setups in terms of money. A loop would be interesting, but I don't see the point. Like, it'll probably act the same as a normal blaster. Because it does have about the same explosion radius. I feel like it's a little bit bigger, actually, than Big Bad Blaster. But it's kind of hard to tell. Because all of them can do that magically sometimes. And, weirdly enough, it seems to have a little funky thing that happens if you use it with ores that would be lethal to fire if you put them past a spore. Or anything that involves cooling it off. So I would suggest putting it at the end of a setup. Unless that just doesn't happen to you, and that's just happening to me for some reason. I really don't know, but I retried it, and it was still doing it, so I found it interesting, so. That's it for the video. Time to Reborn. Got garbage. And I will see you all soon with the new update coming out next Saturday, but I'll probably have a new video before then, but, you know, as they always say when they leave.